Welcome to the Not On My Watch podcast, where real-life issues facing the family and the church are addressed with bold and uncompromising truth. It's time to reject the mediocrity of the day, live courageously in the face of danger, and declare, Not On My Watch. Here are your hosts, Jeff and Rochelle Ferguson.
Welcome to the Not On My Watch podcast. We are Jeff and Rochelle, and so glad that you are listening on whatever mode of listening that you choose. We are multi-moded.
And I'm just going to want to say good news. If you watched our last podcast, we alluded several times that we will be doing a marriage podcast coming up. And
We did?
Well, kind of tongue-in-cheek. We were joking around, tongue-in-cheek. I said, hey, we're going to do a marriage podcast. So
Here it is.
Marriage podcast.
Okay, I don't think I remember talking about that at all. So.
I do. Sorry.
Okay.
It was just funny,
but marriage can be easy. And why we need to let the world know this. And I feel like right there, maybe some people were like,
Let's just let that sit there for a little bit.
I'm thinking people are already turned off. So if you already turned it off,
Hey, turn it back on.
It won't work. But marriage can be easy.
Yes.
And we need to let the world know that. And that's the topic of the podcast. And so...
Can I just say for everybody, I'm so glad that my wife, married to me, said marriage can be, which means... I don't think I'm a difficult person. That's encouraging to me. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, okay. Now, in all fairness, I didn't say marriage is easy. I said can be. But I'm just.
But we wouldn't know anything
now
about it.
We're gonna throw down the hammer. No, I'm just kidding. So we've been married close to 20 years.
Yes.
Not quite. It's not quite 20. We are talking about what we are going to do for our 20th anniversary. We're going to have to save up and do something fun, but that is a different podcast.
That's a different podcast. That's not this one.
If you have ideas, let me know. We came up with this idea of a podcast really at a suggestion of a friend. So I've actually had several meetings lately. So just with some different acquaintances, some with friends, some with new friends. And so one of those meetings that I was having, we started talking about marriage. That's what people are. I mean, I love it because people want to talk about marriage. They want to talk about parenting. They want to talk about leadership, all the things that Not On My Watch talks about. So anyways.
All the hot button topics right now that are people talking about. And
things that people are really dealing with, or maybe not even just like dealing with, it's like enjoying, like it's not always negative. It's, anyways.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about marriage in general. And I just said this out loud. I said, marriage is easy. Like, I would never categorize our marriage as hard. Like, that would not be a word I would use. Does that mean that I don't get frustrated with you? No. Like,
oh, do tell.
We won't talk about that. Like that, maybe some of you want to hear the frustrating things. I'm sure I already told you.
Oh yeah, I already know.
Like if I was frustrated, I would let you know. And I know that at times I can frustrate you, like because you do the weird eyebrow thing. So I know.
Never.
I know.
Don't say that, girl. Never.
So I'm not saying that marriage can't have its moments. But as a whole, I would never categorize. I would never, like if someone said marriage is fill in the blank, I would never say hard. And so in this conversation that I was having, this person said, nobody's ever said that to me.
That surprised me.
Yeah, I was kind of sitting there like, real? And then later, she texted me again and said, no, literally, you're the only person that's ever told me that marriage can be easy. And she's like, she even said, you need to do a podcast on this because people need to hear that perspective. And I'm like, okay, so here it is. So,
and I wonder, does this keep people, a couple things, afraid of marriage? Does this keep people not marrying because they've been told, or they receive the feeling somehow, or the message that marriage is just hard and it's it's going to be not fun more times than it is fun.
Well, we did a podcast, and maybe we can even link it in the show notes a while ago. I literally have no concept of time. I don't even know what month it is right now. I'm like looking at my kids playing, like, what's going on? Are we at the end of school yet? So like, I don't know.
Marriage is so fun. She doesn't know what time of the year it is.
Marriage is so easy. I don't even know what day it is. So that's a different podcast. You are getting me off. Okay. So what was I saying?
I'm sorry.
You totally. What day is it? No, I'm just kidding. No, so that marriage. We did a podcast. That's what I was saying.
Did a podcast.
And we can link
Here
it
we
in.
go.
We can. It's
link
coming.
It in the show notes.
We can link it in the show notes about how there came a generation who like stopped being married.
Yes.
Who avoided marriage.
There came a generation, I believe the title was, who did not want to get married.
Yes.
Yes. And we'll link that in the show notes, exactly what episode, because I don't know either.
I don't know either, and I just came on the fly. But it's statistically like people are avoiding marriage. They're getting married less, like they're getting married later, all of these things. And so this is kind of an epiphany to me when I was having a meeting with a friend that she had never heard that marriage could be easy. And then it got me thinking. So I went to Focus on the Family. When I was in college, I did an internship there. We took a class on marriage. Like before we were even dating, I was taking a class on marriage. And we read every book that Dr. Dobson would recommend. Like literally our nights were filled with reading. So if there's a marriage book, I pretty much feel like I've read a lot of them. I'm not saying I'm read every
and then
marriage
you
book.
Made me read all of those. No, I'm joking. She didn't do that. I'm joking.
I did not.
She didn't do that.
Because someone was like, I'm not reading that again. But I started thinking about the fact that, okay, these different books, and then my friend saying this, and then all of this, and I'm like, hold on. Wow, there is a prevailing narrative that we are portraying that marriage is just work. It's hard. Suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah, and you hear it, you see it, you read it in the literature, and I agree with some of these sentiments, but these sentiments can be like marriage doesn't exist to make you happy, it exists to make you holy. And
agree?
I agree, absolutely.
Gary Thomas, that's who wrote that.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So I think that's a great book, by the way, and I agree with that. But I also believe that you can have a happy time, you can have a joy-filled, not only that, marriage should be joy-filled. And so... is marriage serious? Yes. Can there be difficulties? Yes. But I tell you what, it's happy. It's joy filled. It can be easy. It can be fun. Dare I say, should be.
And it doesn't have to be the hardest thing in your life.
Yes.
Now,
good.
I don't know.
That's good.
Like, I don't know. I don't know all the things, but I do know this. I do not know a lot. That's what I know. But I do know that marriage doesn't have to be overwhelmingly hard all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say that, I know that could like trigger for people who are listening.
Yes.
And here's what I don't want you to hear. I don't want you to hear like, well, if it's hard right now, something's wrong. Like I should abandon ship. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if something's always hard, maybe there needs to be a looking at what's going on. And so here's some things that I know. In our marriage, I'm just going to use ours. This is the one I know the best, right? Like, okay, because I've lived it for almost 20 years. We have the same goals.
Yeah. And
that, I feel like, lays a complete different foundation than maybe those who are having competing goals.
Yes.
So like I just am coming up with this on the fly. These aren't like show note number ones or whatever, but like number one, our goal is to please God. Like we want to have a relationship with Jesus, and we want that to not just be like but like together.
And right there, it's just the foundation that if both people have to have that goal of they want to individually please Jesus individually so that they can please Jesus together in marriage, that is the foundation of a marriage that can be easy.
And I did not say to Christians. Mm-hmm. And people are like, so are you saying you don't have to be equally yoked? No, I'm not disagreeing with Paul. What I am saying for sure is that it's not just enough to be like, oh, I want to follow Jesus. No, like Jesus is every
Yes.
Every part. So like in our marriage, like we talked about this well before we were married. Like, okay, what do we desire in following Christ? And so that even flowed over to like ministry goals, family goals, all of that. But that centerpiece, if that's not there, yeah, your marriage is going to be hard.
I knew from the first
Right there.
serious conversation, when I say serious, for just first conversation with you, the type of person you were, that you were, you talked about I just never forget, like talked about the scriptures. I'm like, maybe I need to start saying the scriptures. And it wasn't just
The holy word.
but the way you talked about the Bible, the way you talked about your prayer time, it wasn't just like, yeah, I kind of do that, or maybe it's an add-on. You could tell it was the central main part of your life. And I knew from then that was a relationship that I wanted to pursue, because anyway, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that goal has to be. Now, I also want to say I could hear it, and I didn't even have to like verbally hear it, but I heard it.
Now, it just came through.
It just came through. No. Well, you could say marriage is easy because you've never had any hard things come at you. And I say malarkey. If you have been married, I don't know anybody who's been married for close to 20 years and not had to weather some storms.
And can we say, I know, I don't want to take us in a different direction. I think it's...
But you will.
But we have to be careful to say that, because we have no clue the storms that people have weathered. And when we say that, what you just said, that if people have been married for any amount of time, I'm just going to assume that they've been through some hardship, that they've been through some difficult circumstances. They've been through some things that has tested their resolve and their character and all that stuff. So I just wouldn't say that to people, because I don't have a clue of what people have dealt with that they maybe haven't come out with publicly. And so you're exactly right. I think everybody, we could say that everybody has experienced hardship on some level.
Well, yeah, and I think even to sit there and go, well, mine was harder. It's like, well, my cancer was worse than your cancer. Like, what? Or, my sickness was worse than, literally, this is what happened with COVID. It was like, oh, I got COVID worse than you. I can't smell. Like this comparison or whatever.
I did have the original. But anyway, the original strain.
Yeah, I had like the third version, fourth and fifth or whatever. Sorry, that made me laugh.
She still has the...
Okay, I can hardly read now. Okay, Jeff. Sorry. Anyways, so if we're not saying that marriage is easy just because we haven't weathered storms.
Correct. Yes.
And these are storms that...
Because we have.
That we didn't even choose. I think about multiple miscarriages. I think about surgeries that we've had to go through, health concerns in 20 years. I think about relational disappointments, vocational disappointments.
Yeah.
Anybody who's been married for any amount of time, you've gone through some of these things, but they don't have to define.
That's the difference. So we've been through these things, but they don't have to define the entirety of our marriage. And I think that's the difference here, is what we're talking about. We're not saying that marriage is going to be without difficulty or without difficult circumstances. Every relationship does. Every person has that. But what we are saying is that doesn't have to cast a long shadow over your marriage. No, marriage can be fun, can be easy, it can be rewarding and fulfilling, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, here's I think you said it. You have to make that decision. Are we going to weather these times together or not?
Yeah, I think this, this is too simple. I just really don't think it is. You and I, we both want to serve Jesus. You and I, we're both going together.
Yeah.
We're in it together. I'm your number one fan. You're my number one fan. We are friends. In this world, you're going to have trouble. Yes. But guess what? Jesus has overcome, and he also allows us to have relationships that help us overcome. We're not meant to do this alone. We're meant to do this in community. Yes. And I think in an effort, and I get it, in an effort to talk about how marriage is meant to make you holy and sanctified, and it can be hard. Yes. Okay. There are times. Yes. But we're missing the overarching that marriage is a blessing. It's a gift. It's, I don't know. I think it can be easy. It doesn't have to be one of the things. I mean, I think about all things in my life that have been hard, and marriage is not one of them.
Yeah.
You know, like, sure, other things, yeah, we could talk about those. But, and I think a lot of that even comes back to making your home a safe haven, protecting what comes in your home, protecting who you allow in your home. And I know, like, people are like, what are you talking about? No, but like literally, I think about that even with my own children. Okay, I'm sending you out into a cruel world. It is. There's some cruel things that happen out there. But guess what? You can always come home here.
Yes.
Nothing you can do, nothing my kids could do could make me not love them.
Yes.
That's the kind of unconditional love that is in a marriage too. Like nothing you could do could make. Now, could I get mad at you, Jeff? Yes, but
Maybe.
I will never stop loving you. You know, I think
Yeah.
that foundation.
And when we say protect your home, I think some people may think, so you don't have an affair or adultery. Well, okay, I think that's a pretty low standard. When we say protect our home, I think what we're talking about is make it a place so that it can be a place of joy, of fun, so that it can be a place of mutual, like we're just, there's just mutual, like, I don't know, satisfaction and enjoyment and fun and just, being able to be silly and things like that. I just think that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, hey, protect
avoiding
your home
all the bad things
so that you're not sinning. Of course, we don't want to sin. Of course.
Yes.
But making an environment where marriage there can be a light, almost, dare I say, environment around marriage.
Yes.
A fun environment where there's joking and there's, so I don't know. That's when I think of protecting, that's what I think of. Not just against the horrible bad things out there, but making sure proactively that your home is a place of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, are we saying marriage is always easy? No. If you find yourself where you're going, man, I listen to this and I'm like, my marriage is not easy right now. I would say, some of these things that we talked about, definitely pray about it. Talk to your spouse about it. I remember you and we went through, I can't even tell you what year we were talking about this. We're like, what year was that? We don't even know. And it was a short time. It wasn't a whole year. I just remember we looked at each other. We're like, we're fighting. Like, why are we fighting? And there was no, I don't even remember a total reason, but we just got together and talked about it and said, okay, what do we need to do to stop? We don't want to fight. We want to, okay, maybe we need to rest. Yeah, maybe we need to chill out, take a chill pill,
I remember that. I think I was just like, you know what, Jeff? I just need to chill.
And then I
just need to
it obviously didn't impact us that much because I can't remember when it was or whatever. But
there will be those moments. There will
and
be
you just
those
come back
occasions.
together. And I think about that even with goals. Okay, come back together. Are we? Because our goals have not stayed static.
Yes,
of course,
correct.
A goal to follow Christ and to grow in Him, that's constant. But even vocational goals or family goals have evolved, or financial goals or whatever. Yeah. So there's that constant coming back together. So if you find yourself going, man, my marriage is not easy, say, come together, talk about it. Talk about, hey, we need some brevity. We need some easy. Yes. How can we get there together? We're not enemies. You and your spouse are not enemies. You're like comrades.
You said it. I like it. We even before, as we were getting ready for this, you said you have a built-in non-enemy.
Yes.
You have a built-in non-enemy, someone who's for you, who's cheering you on, and someone that you can return to at the end of the day and go, you know what? Life's crazy, and it can get crazy, but wow, I'm glad this is
This ain't crazy.
This ain't crazy. Yeah.
So refuse to make your home crazy. I don't know. Talk to us. Talk back. Yes. But really, it doesn't have to be. Literally, marriage is an incredible gift from God. It is. So I don't know. I just want to leave with this. Whatever you say about things, sometimes they become them. So if I tell my kids they're bad enough, they might actually become bad. Yes. I know that sounds like, oh, are you saying if you claim it and speak it? Yeah, I think words have power.
They do.
And so if I say enough and enough, oh, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. Maybe you're like, yeah, marriage is hard. But what if we change the narrative and say, yes, you know what? Marriage, when we're focused on Christ, it can be easy. Are we going to face hard times? Yes. But guess what? It can be easy. It can be fulfilling. It can be the best thing that happened to you.
Yes.
It is a gift. And so let's just change the narrative.
Oh,
That's what we're
absolutely.
saying. Let's change the narrative and spread the word. Spread the word that marriage can be easy.
Hashtag change the narrative.
Change the narrative.
Absolutely.
All right. So thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Check out our website. I don't know. Anything else you want to say?
I'll just say excited to see you right here on the next episode of the Not on My Watch podcast. We'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Not on My Watch podcast. You are a watchman for this time and hour. Don't forget to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you listen. If you haven't already, head on over to our website, www.notonmywatch.co, for more resources from Jeff and Rochelle. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time on the next episode. But until then, keep watchful.